Glad to be back. Hello and thank you for joining us on the Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Today on the program, APC National Convention to hold in February 2022. And later on the show, Chief of Army Staff Imina declares war against bandits, orders soldiers to kill them and bring their corpses and weapons. I'll be hanging out with Adewale Adeoye and Mojit Jamiu. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for staying with us. Interest, compromise, and consensus rule the game of politics. After clash of interests that has prolonged the stay of the caretaker committee in the charge of the All Progressive Congress, APC, the coast appears clear for a new set of party executives. After a meeting with APC governors in Abuja on Tuesday, President Muhammadu Buhari endorsed February 2022 for the National Convention of the party. Chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, Atiku Bagudu, who confirmed the development to newsmen at the end of the closed-door meeting, said the convention was shifted because 4 states are yet to complete their congresses. Let's hear from Governor Atiku Bagudu of Kebbi State.
To give the inputs of the governors so that the party and the president will consider in agreeing a date for the National Convention. And yesterday, part of the input we got was that we still have 4 states which are in the process of completing their congresses. Anambra, understandably because of election, Zamfara, and 2 others. The governors, based on all that, made an input that we think the party and the president might graciously consider February, and President is favorably disposed, and I'm sure the party, because the party, the chair of the caretaker committee was part of the delegation, he had that, and I'm sure they will conclude between him and the president, but we have made the input of the governors known, and it was favorably considered by Mr. President.
Am I a jobless person who is always trying to extend his tenure? To do what? I have my primary responsibility as a governor to go back to my state and carry out my primary responsibility. What I am here to do is ad hoc and, of course, to reposition the party, and that is exactly what we are able to achieve.
Mojit, this hurdle, the People's Democratic Party scaled this hurdle, a very difficult hurdle. And out of the 21 elective positions they had, they actually went for the consensus arrangement ahead of their convention, and they sorted 19 seats. So they just went to the convention for 2 elective seats. And at the end of the day, everybody came together, they chose the national chairman and everything. So for the PDP, it's like, congratulations. For the APC, it's more complex. Can they achieve that? They're saying February 2022 to get all the big gladiators together, and so that they can sing with the same voice. And it's very important ahead of that convention, and even during that convention, even if it's going to be an elective convention.
For the APC, it's a very tough task, and the cake is bigger.
The ruling party?
Yeah, for the ruling party, with almost about 7,000 appointments, positions to be filled. So,
stakes higher.
You want to tell me that PDP was also in that kind of shoe some
I remember.
7 years back, but in this case, APC is still able to hold its states, although we have some issues in about 12 states, out of which 4 are yet to conclude their congresses, like Oyo, Zamfara, and 2 others, like the APC the progressive governors chairman said, Bagudu. No, but they know what they are doing. They've been able to shift the convention to a February date. And I doubt if they can have the luxury of shifting it further. Because according to
INEC could have released a timetable.
According to INEC, no, it's not even about releasing timetable. INEC has already given a hint that the candidates for the two political parties for 2023 elections for governorship and presidential must emerge before August ending. So if you can't conclude your congress convention by February, then you know you have
you are running against time.
You are running against time. So I think the onus is on the APC to be able to put its house in order in places like Rivers, Oyo, Kwara, where ministers and other chieftains of the party, I mean, like between Amechi and Magnosabe in Rivers, Kwara between the governor and Lai Mohammed, and in a place like
Ogun State
too,
Dukulamosu
and Akwabiodun. So we can go on and on and on. But I want
Osun State, Aregbesola versus
Oyetola, they call it Ileri versus Simbo,
yes,
or Top versus Ileri. So, I mean, we have a lot of issues, but I believe in the capacity of Mai Malabuni to be able to bring everybody in
with this date given, I can tell you, with the analysis we've been giving and looking at APC state chapters, the congresses they had and everything, I can tell you for now, as a political analyst, I can tell you that the coast is not clear for the All Progressive Congress. The same problem that bedeviled the Zamfara faction prior to 2019, they are back. The same thing, River States. The same thing, I start counting states all through, and even Lagos. That we feel that all is well. There's another group called Lagos for Lagos.
I think we can't deceive ourselves that APC faces a lot of contradictions, and those contradictions are not unexpected. It started from the formation of the party itself, that the APC, the CPC, the ACN, and then the ANPP, and some other groups came together to form the APC. I think at that time, the agenda was just to get, to ensure that PDP was removed from power. I don't think there was rigorous negotiation on the consequences of getting the PDP out of power and then what is next. And that's why you notice that the first group that left, were the Saraki group, ahead of the last national elections. And we are back to a situation where the contending parties are struggling for control of the structure of the party. The CPC happens to be having upper hand, and I think there are people there who we have in the APC now. We have the progressive, we have the conservative, we have the hardliners.
The legacy party that collapsed to form APC, I felt by now that we should not hear of them again.
Yeah, that's what's supposed to be. But we have a tendency that wants to take all, that does not want to recognize the contributions of people, ab initio, in terms of when the party came into existence in the first place. For instance, I can say authoritatively that the ACN is being pushed probably from the center stage, which I think is not fair. And I think party is, is about inclusion. Political parties is about recognizing the interests of other people, sitting down together, negotiating.
The CPC guys,
of course,
want to dominate
they want even, so even when you look at in terms of sharing of appointments and all that, it's like the CPC wants to take control of everything. For the fact that they cannot hold the convention from June last year, postponed to December last year, and then to June this year again, and then postponed, it means that there are problems. There is a major problem on the ground. But like Mogit said, I think the APC is in a better position to resolve its own crisis because it has a better opportunity, in terms of strength, in terms of networking, in terms of ability to even win the next election. The APC should be able to resolve its problem before the next convention. If it does not do it, I think there are great consequences for
the difference between the PDP of those days, when they had power, when they were at the center stage, is that they had a president with a very strong character, and it is the line that Mr. President toes that everybody must fall in, and whether that is democratic enough, I don't know. But Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari seems to be aloof. Mr. President, I don't know. Anytime there are some crises that we expect, like as the party leader, that Mr. President should wield the big stick and, you know, call the house to order. But from his style, it's not just in his style to intervene in things like this. Despite the fact that you see some state chapters, the crisis will escalate to the extent that it will take so long, to the extent that they lost some states, vital states, during the last election. But Mr. President will still keep quiet and watch you guys.
When he was being sworn in for the first term in 2015, remember what he said? He said, I'm from everybody and I'm from nobody.
He has not shown that it's for everybody now.
No, what that shows is that...
Standing aloof does not show that you're
from everybody. No. What it shows is that APC should not think that they own him. That he is a president of Nigerians. I think that's what is showing clearly. Mr. Muhammadu Buhari is telling his party men that I am not president of APC, but rather the president of Nigeria. And that's why you see an APC losing elections.
Zamfara State,
Zamfara,
Rivers,
Bayelsa,
Adamawa.
Even the recently concluded elections where Anambra, where Soludo lost. Because, I mean, Buhari...
They couldn't have won that.
No. My point is, Buhari shouldn't have allowed an Andy Uba to emerge. Yes. Everybody knew that there's no way an Andy Uba will stand in Soludo in that kind of election. So, and look at the primary that led to the election of, that led to the emergence of Andy Uba, where he polled supposedly 230,000 votes, and on election day, he could only manage less than 50,000. So, when you have that kind of scenario, you have a president that says, you guys, I'm here, put your house in order. And I think that's why I said, Mai Mala Buni is trying, but also the other governors, I mean, you could see that yesterday at the meeting, there were, I mean, some two governors were even changing, they were in a heated argument. There is no gainsaying the fact that the governors are in charge of the structure of APC. There's no doubt about that. That's why they were able to get one of them to be the CCEPC, the caretaker committee. But they shouldn't take Nigerians for granted. Just like you said, the way PDP was able to manage a very, very transparent and successful convention that led to the emergence of Joshua Ayu. So we want to see how APC, come February, will come out with a kind of either consensus arrangement or an election of a national chairman that will be seen to be free and fair. That is the only thing that can give Nigerians a semblance of that these guys are that they mean business, that they are not taking Nigerians for a ride. Because they keep postponing this date, but there is a limit to which they can continue to postpone. Since June 2020, when Mai Mala Buni was put there as a caretaker chairman, his tenure has been extended. This is the third time it's been extended to a new February 2022 date.
Now, Wale, if it's the United States now, you know, they've had midterm elections so that we can gauge the pulse of the people, how they feel about the All Progressive Congress. Like a lot of people will tell you that, look, they feel that the party has not done well economically, the party has not handled the security situation well, that ordinarily, if there's a kind of election now, APC should not, you know, win the next election. But Nigeria is a very complex country that, you know, more people are joining APC, more governors are joining APC. APC is consolidating. And if there's going to be an election tomorrow, from what I can see, from all the indication, the party might win the election. But Nigerians are crying that there's hunger in the land, there's poverty, there's so many things are not going too well. But still, APC is still waxing stronger. What a big contradiction.
Yeah, the disagreements in APC among its members is not qualitative disagreement. Disagreement is not on the economic policies of the federal government, or maybe on health, or maybe on security. It's on how to share positions. So I'm not surprised that if there's an election today, APC will still win, because there is no viable opposition political party. Take the PDP, for instance. Even look at the states being managed by PDP. Is there any fundamental difference? The answer is that there's no difference. So if there is going to be another election today, I will not be surprised at APC, because people don't see any real dynamic changes when you are talking about APC and PDP, or like the Democratic Party and Republican Party that for years, for timeless period, that what the Republican Party stands for, what the Social Democratic Party stands for. But in Nigeria, PDP and APC, fundamentally people don't see more difference between the two of them. And that's why somebody can move from APC, go to PDP today, and then move back to APC. Look at the opposition figures in PDP. Atiku, President Jonathan, and then, the third president is supposed to be Obasanjo. But at the time, he even thought he said, so the PDP has no rallying figure. It has no figure that can galvanize Nigerians. And unfortunately, in other countries, like South Africa, we have expected the Labour Party, TUC, NLC to come together to provide a third alternative. Unfortunately, we may not see that kind of situation in this country come next election. What is going to happen is that the next election will be determined by either PDP or APC. So we are in a dilemma.
Contradictory situation. I have my first caller. Thank you for staying with us.
Yes. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. I wanted to contribute on the program.
All right, please go ahead. You're live.
Yes. I can boldly tell you that on this TV that the person. Yes, I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me? I can tell you that the main person that spoiled APC is Comrade. It's Comrade Shumole. It's Comrade Shumole that spoiled APC. It's Comrade Shumole that spoiled APC in Edo State. Shumole that spoiled APC in Edo State. During the last election with Obaseki and Ezeyamu, everybody saw what happened there. Even you yourself saw what happened at Edo State.
Okay, thank you. I think it's just talking about Edo State as we are looking at the bigger picture, the APC as the party in power.
One of the major problems being faced by the APC today is that, like Wale said, there is they have not gone beyond that merger. They ought to progress to a union and have a fusion, but they are still struggling
to bond.
To bond, yeah, that's the key word I was looking for. The bonding is not yet there, and that's why you see those in the CPC still saying that yes, if CPC takes presidency, then the chairmanship should go to ACN, and something should go to the other ANPP. So, and to some extent, a fraction of APGA too, because that's what Okosha brought to the table then. Now, the thing is, until they are able to have that bonding, and the time is ticking, I doubt if they could be able, if they can achieve that now before February. And apart from that, with the kind of largesse that is in the party, there should be something for everybody to go, something for everybody to share. But personal interest, selfish interest is overriding national interest, not only in APC, but also in the PDP. That's why you see no more ideology. You see somebody, Fani Kayode, on the last count has moved like two times between the APC and PDP. So as elections are getting close, it looks at the party that has the highest likelihood of winning, and it will jump there. Tomorrow, when the baton changes, it moves. So, and several others. I won't be surprised. We still have between, I mean, they say 24 hours is such a long time in politics. We could still have some defections into the ruling party or out of the ruling party as we approach 2023.
You said something the other time and it caught my attention. That it has never been what will be our policy on education, agriculture, health. It has never been anything that is all about the people. It has always been interests. And when you are talking about politics now, the latest debate now is within the party that is pitching the governors together is about direct or indirect primaries. And that cannot even affect that man on the streets.
When you follow the US election, you see that, you know, the Democrat Party or the Republicans, when they are having their primaries and all that, you see candidates coming out to talk about, we don't like what the president is doing. Maybe his policy on abortion, his policy on environment, his policy on COVID-19, his policy on job creation within the party.
That was a big issue.
So it was a very big issue. You see that they are talking about issues that affect the masses, the members of the party. But in this case, we are talking about sharing of appointments. You know, we are talking about gubernatorial election. We are talking about which candidate to emerge. So they are really not issues that, you know, affect the people on the streets. Direct or indirect primaries. You know, who should get what? How we are going to share the spoils of office and all that. So it's quite unfortunate that you know, these contradictions are not just, you know, coming because, you know, people are talking about what benefit the people.
All right, we have another caller, Daru from Taraba State.
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
Good evening. Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I greet you all in the house.
Good evening.
Hello. Good evening.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I want to contribute on this topic, party politics, APC Congress. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Please, you're live.
Hello. Hello.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes. I say, yeah, APC, they have problem. They have problem really for not, hello? Yes. Hello?
I think you are listening to your feedback. Yes, you can try again and step away from your monitor and talk to us live. So now stakes higher, the ruling party, and ahead of this February, this is November, and a conventions committee will be set up. And don't forget that the congresses that we had around 36 states or around some states, they still had problems. Some of them, they are at the verge of writing petition to the appeal. And there's so many hurdles to be scaled before that convention.
Yeah, like I said earlier, there are crises in about 12 states. And this crisis led to the loss of about 3 or 4 states, including Zamfara, Bayelsa, and I think Adamawa in the last elections. And also in Edo, it also led to the loss of Edo State. Because recall that Obaseki was in APC. They denied him a ticket on some flimsy excuses, but he emerged the PDP candidate and won. Now, that's why I said there is no real big difference between APC and PDP. You only need to jump ship and your personality comes into play. Now, the APC and PDP, they have litmus tests to face in Ekiti and Osun. First, in this, by January next year, the primary that will produce the candidate of both APC and PDP will hold. So whoever emerges from the primary, whichever group is able to produce for APC, whichever group is able to produce the candidates will have an edge. The same thing in Osun, whether it's going to be the incumbent, which is most likely so. Well, it is a bit different because Kaudefami is running his last term. He can't contest. But Osun, the governor, Oyetola, is contesting, but then there could be some surprises. I mean, now, leaving the primary, then you have the main elections in June, July. So, in Ekiti, the election is coming in June, while that of Osun is coming up July 12th. So, whichever party wins those two elections will have a positive psychological effect and could have
just like it was in 2019.
Yes, and could have a bandwagon effect going to 2023 because I mean the months will start running faster because as we are finishing Osun election by July, the primaries that will produce the presidential and governorship candidates nationwide for states that are not in the off-cycle election will come up in August. And the moment the presidential and the governorship candidates emerge, then we are into full swing politicking. So APC must be able to ensure that they up their ante, and again, they should not take Nigerians for granted. Because as we have seen in Anambra, it will be very difficult to manipulate all the elections.
Like in Ekiti States now, you find that, oh, let's say Mr. Governor is interested in one of the candidates to succeed him so that I can continue the policy. Yeah. You find that there are another faction that are saying, oh, Mr. Governor, you can't choose a successor. We are already seeing that in the group of Dayo Adeyeye. And what is your state?
Well, my belief is that, you see, if I happen to be the governor of a state and I carry out very good programs, it's natural that I want to see somebody continues with that program. What is important is to ensure inclusion, to ensure you dialogue with the party leadership, and then let them know that, look, we have this program of the APC, we need to define this structure, these programs, and I think this is the right person to do it. So once the party agrees, and you carry them along, I don't think that's something strange in our politics. Even when Awolowo was in power, I mean, you cannot tell me Awolowo will not be interested in who becomes, the governor of Oyo or any of the Southwest. It's natural. So, but, I don't think there's anything abnormal about that, But what is also, what we have seen over time is that no matter the decision taken by the governor of a state, some people for personal interest will still say, look, we are not going to support such a person for personal interest. So there's nothing that can happen that you will not have a situation where some people will disagree with you. And only one person can emerge as the governor of a state. Yeah. So the important thing is to pick somebody that is acceptable to everyone, and then we move ahead.
All right. We'll take this break. When we come back, we'll talk more. So journalists Hangout. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We call it the biggest platform for journalists in the country. And I have Adewale Adeoye and Mojid Jamiu in the house. And we are looking at the All Progressive Congress ahead of their February 2022 elective convention to choose the members of the National Working Committee of that party. So finally on this now, when you look at the interest, after the National Working Committee members will be selected, if they are selected this February, now we start talking about who is going to represent the party in 2023.
Yeah, I think there is a calculated attempt, or would I say it's an ambush or a coincidence to have two of us from Ekiti State to come and be discussing Ekiti and Osun, knowing that we have Ekiti elections coming. That's just by the way. Now, looking at the APC, whoever or whichever committee or group that the Mai Malabuni-led committee selects to head the or to organize the convention, we give you like a body language of what might likely happen at the convention. Now, we should look out for the names that will emerge for the national convention. That's number one. Number two, there are groups within the party. Whoever emerges as the chairman of APC can give you an inkling into what might likely happen. As to who the presidential candidate of the party will be. Because with the emergence of Iyoshe Ayu in PDP, you can see those who are jubilating. You can see the group that are jubilating already that they have something in their kitty, in their pouch. So the same thing you can say it for the APC, because we have a president that, whoever emerges, as long as it is free and fair, some people can even use the body language of the president to sell a dummy to some people, because they know that for you to get that feedback might not be easy. So, like I said earlier, I will still say it, APC must be careful. They need to get their acts together. The time is ticking. They have less than 4 months now to give us, or to give Nigerians, a central working committee, an ESCO, a national ESCO, and people that we can hold accountable, that will give Nigerians a presidential candidate that will match up with that of PDP in a very, very clean and clear contest, just like we have seen with the convention of the PDP.
Well, your advice to the party?
Well, I think the party should work on consensus through dialogue. They still have enough time to meet with all the stakeholders. The most important position in that party is the position of the national chairman. And I think if they are mature enough, they should be able to reach out to all the contending interests. If they have a consensus candidate, I think it would be better for the party
like the PDP,
than to have a chairman that will emerge out of conflict, out of stiff neck, out of upheavals. It will be in the interest of the party to have a consensus national chairman.
To have winners or losers. So those the losers might not be able to manage the situation well. They will be thinking of pitching their tent with the People's Democratic Party. Now, moving on now. Troubled by worsening banditry and other forms of insecurity across Nigeria, many citizens have insisted that what we have on our hands is nothing but war. To this end, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, has declared a full-scale war against armed bandits terrorizing Nigerians. Speaking in Minna, Niger State, during the operational visit to the 31 Artillery Brigade and Training and Doctrine Command, that is TRADOC, General Yahaya ordered the soldiers to kill them and bring their corpses and weapons. This is talking tough from the Chief of Army Staff. Not just kill them alone, bring their corpses.
And bring evidence. The visit by the Army Chief, it's a good one that will boost the morale of the officers and men on ground. Anytime that happens, you see that the chief of Army Staff that died, was doing that regularly, and it's a good thing that he has continued. It's part of strategy and logistics, and that charge alone will send the necessary signals to our troops by boosting their morals, and to also send signals, negative now, to the bandits that the Nigerian troop, the operatives of the military and all those fighting in this war, so to say, means business. It went to TRADOC. There are a lot of incentives that have been given to them. There is a mobile settlement center that was just commissioned there, a nursery and primary school, a training and conference center. Just to boost their morale, to show that, yes, you guys, we are not just dumping you guys there. I mean, we are with you. We are supporting you with all that you need to get this war done and dusted. So, while doing this, I expect that more of logistics will be deployed. Of course, they won't come and tell us some of these things on here, but I think we are getting positive vibes in the past few days, and I hope our military operatives should be able to sustain this momentum and continue to push these guys back into the bush. I mean, just at the weekend, I think they were bombarded, the ISWAP and Boko Haram troops that suffered heavy casualties, especially after the killing of the lieutenant, of the brigadier general in that ambush.
When you look at it, it's as if a lot of people will question the sincerity behind these fights. Now, the chief of army staff is talking tough now.
Yeah.
That's look at all costs, and we've had the kind of edge through the air assaults. So because the terrain might be difficult for our military to have access, and these guys, they are equally armed.
I think what the army chief said was just a tip of the iceberg, because I've done a lot of reflections on what is going on in Niger State, and I'm not a soldier, but I covered defense for years, and I think it gives me a lot of worry. There are certain things we need to take, critical look at. Niger State is the biggest of all the 36 states in terms of landmass. Followed by Borno State. The two states are theaters of banditry and terrorism. Now, Niger State also is a host of Nigerian strategic assets. The Kanji Dam is there. The Shiroro Dam is there. And for bandits to be operating in these states, very close, in fact, Shiroro local government, they are very active there. On September 4, soldiers were killed. On October 2, second day after Nigerian independence, 5 soldiers were killed. On October 25, they raided a mosque and 18 people were killed. And you see, what should be of importance to us is that River Niger is in Niger State. That river takes its source from southeast Guinea through Mali and then through Niger to Nigeria. The issue is that the militants can easily get access to arms using small vessels all the way from Mali, Niger to Niger State. So I believe their coming to Niger State was based on their own strategic thinking. That if they are able to hold on to Niger State in terms of supply of logistics, in terms of supply of weapons through River Niger. And don't forget, from Niger State, you move on to Niger Delta, where Nigeria has its oil mainstay. What happened in Syria? The terrorists, they targeted Al Omar oil field, took it over, and gave Assad hell after taking over that oil. They were able to be selling oil to a lot of interest. So if they are able to hold on to Niger, I can tell you that from there through River Benue, they may have access to the Niger Delta where we have our oil. River Niger is strategic to us. It's about 4,180 kilometers. In fact, the longest river in the entire of Africa after River Nile and the Congo River. So for rebels to be holding on to that area, that dominion, is a major threat to us. And don't forget, from Niger State, they are moving on to Kwara State. They operated in New Busa recently. They operated in Kogi. And Niger State is just about 150 kilometers to Abuja. So I think we must work hard to make sure that we dislodge these elements from Niger State. If not, it's going to destabilize the country. It's going to pose a bigger threat to the well-being of the country. So I think for the chief of army staff to visit that Niger State and talk to the soldiers and also inspire them, I think it's a very important thing. But at the same time, asking them to kill those bandits is good, but they must be conscious of the fact that innocent citizens must be protected. They must guard against, destruction of property that innocent people, innocent lives must be protected. Because when you give them that license to do whatever they want to do. We must also be conscious of the fact that we need to protect local communities from military assault, more so that many of them may not be involved in terrorism and banditry.
We lost a lot of, as in, a lot of our soldiers and to this campaign, especially the war on insurgents in the northeast. But the spread of these bandits is quite worrisome when you look at the strength. The more you kill them, the more they multiply. They get recruited, and there's some boundary areas, communities that you can hardly feel the impact of government there. And those areas, they are very, very vulnerable, and they recruit the guys there.
Yeah. When Boko Haram started, it was like child's play. Now we have Boko Haram and ISWAP. At a point about a month ago, they engaged themselves in a supremacy battle. And I mean, there was casualties on both sides, and they are still fighting. And you know, we suggested then that that was a good time for us to take advantage of the division, the quarrel between those two militant groups to further ambush them and deal decisively with them. And I think it's not out of place that the military, the Chief of Army Staff, is strengthening the 31 Artillery Brigade in Minna. It's of strategic importance, and just like Wale said, and I mean, they are also quite aware of what it takes to lose
command.
To lose that kind of a place, or to have the infidels, the militants have a hold of a strategic state like Niger, especially because of that river and the kind of access that can take you to Benue or Niger Delta. So it's a very strategic visit. And like I said earlier, a lot of activity is going on there, which we can mention here for security reasons.
I have Cyril from Lagos. Cyril, thank you for staying with us. Oh, we lost him. Okay, we'll take this break. When we come back, we'll talk more. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. So, in terms of security, in terms of looking at the underlying factor, these guys are always very vulnerable. They lure them with money, they lure them with food, and so we have to, beyond the military campaign, we have to be looking at other things. You know.
We need a multifaceted strategic approach to dealing with terrorism and banditry. It's not just enough to acquire the biggest, military arsenal in the world, and then you think that with that, you have won. Look at these guys. They are ragtag people in terms of training, in terms of access to weapons, in terms of even the ability to handle weapons. But they are giving us a lot of problems. So it means that it's not just having all the
guerrilla tactics.
Having all the best military arsenals and all that. You need also to attack the root cause of terrorism, which has to be found in, when people have no access to opportunities, when people have no access to education, when people have no access to essentials of life.
I don't feel the impact of
people are
government
desperate to survive. When you know that when you have AK-47, then you are going to get food to eat. So we need to dissuade people. We need to attack the problem from the roots. If you don't do that, just mere buying weapons and all that will not be enough to tackle the problem of terrorism.
Moji, do you agree with this, that it's more of a social problem, that for us to de-escalate it, we need more than the military approach?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we have said it on this program several times. About 2 months ago, we heard of how a serving officer was trying to sabotage his own team by giving information to the bandits. I mean, you see, you wonder at times how they were able to ambush and open fire on our troops. I mean, they know when they are when their guards have been lowered. Look at the attack on the NDA, for example. I mean, now some people are on trial, including the captain. So, the more we are able to fish out these saboteurs. I mean, because I don't know what they are gaining from it. Okay, so that's why this thing has been first.
Ololade is calling us from Kwara State.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Ololade.
Yes, well, I'm in support of those who are asking for their costs. I think enough is enough. It's better we deal with them in the language they understand. We can't continue to be creating problems for us in the country by wasting the life of innocent people. This is a complete act of lawlessness on the highest order. So I'm in support of it. Total war should be declared against them so that they put an end to this bastard act that they are committing here and there. I'm Ololade from the Kwara State.
Okay, thank you for your contribution, Ololade. Yes, as you saying.
I hope Amnesty International will not come and tell us that we are running foul of some conventions. But in a situation where these characters continue to maim and ambush and deal with our guys, I think we have to also be decisive in dealing with them, because the bandits and the militants or the insurgents or whatever name we want to call them, they don't obey international conventions. When I mean, they even go as far as using grenades, rocket propelled missiles, RPG, I mean,
anti-aircrafts,
several others. To deal with our guys. So, but like I said, we have to be more logical and more strategic in winning this war. But then also, it's a function of the economic situation, especially in the Northeast. When people are hungry, they feel that, they are not sure of where the next meal will come from. And also, their upbringing is also important. When you have your children and you throw them on the streets, I mean, they don't even respect their leaders, their parents. They don't even know their parents. So all these cultural issues, traditional issues, I mean, it gives the bandits a fertile recruitment ground. And these are guys that they have never known love or care. So that's why it's easier for them to join those characters and in fighting their people. They feel they are being oppressed. And those guys, they have a way of giving them some indoctrination that they don't want even to think they are human in the way they deal with fellow human beings.
Okay, let me take my last caller. I think Folabi calling from Songwater in Ogun State.
Well, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you very much. I agree with the panelists. I think on the issue of the banditry and Boko Haram, I think we should not take it as a conventional war. We have such type of war in America. What we should apply is the strike form of going into them. We should have a special trained officers that will be kitted with camera, with body camera, that could go into the bush and mingle with them in a striking way,
to infiltrate
whereby they can now be intelligently be defeated.
Yeah, and at least penetrating
He's
them.
talking of intelligence gathering.
Yes, penetrating them, trying to join them.
To know the source of their weapons, to know who are their main actors, to know where they stay in the night, to know who are the funders. And I think that's a very good contribution that I think will be useful to the battle against terrorism.
All right. Okay. Before we end, I'd like to tell you that we want to thank our viewers from Plateau, just in Plateau State. This weekend was very, very big when we went for the burial of Captain Dean, late Captain Dean, Director of News for TVC, that's Stella Dean Jacob. I want to thank you for the hospitality. We want to thank you for hosting us, and just to realize that the number of people watching Journalist Hangout in Plateau State, as I stepped into Plateau State, massive lockdown everywhere. I went to me and Asukwa James. It was everywhere. We want to snap with you. We want to have your number.
We got a red carpet treatment.
Oh man, Plateau State, thank you. You guys really helped. So we have viewers there. I want to thank you, Wale Adoye. Thank you. And Moji Jamiu. And a lot of people will be asking me, where's Babajide? Where's Babajide? Babajide will join us tomorrow. Yes, he's back in Lagos. He's going to join us by the special grace of God. And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. Don't forget to join us on Journalist Hangout on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. See you tomorrow. God bless Nigeria.